fruit question for July comes to us from Lawrence County. I'm looking to grow a few varieties of apples in Summertown, Tennessee. I do have some cedar trees, which I hear can impact the quality of growing. I'd like to know what varieties of apples would grow best in this location with these conditions. And then as a little side note, they said they were also interested in peaches. So just anybody want to kind of usher us into that topic? Katie?
Okay.
I think she took a swing at it on the answer sheet, so I'm gonna let her start us off. So, first of all, why did they think that they're worried about their cedar trees? I guess is the first thing.
So cedar trees are the secondary host. There we go. If I can speak English today, but they're the secondary host for cedar apple rust, which is an issue that, especially in Lawrence County, we have a lot of cases of, because we do have a lot of cedar trees. Even if they're not on your property, they are all over the place. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of one of the things that we are constantly fighting an uphill battle with. We also fight a lot of fire blight in Lawrence County. So if you are going to try and grow fruit trees, really in most parts of Tennessee, though, there's a lot of disease issues that you just kind of want to try to work to prevent, because trees, when they get sick, there's not much you can do after the fact, at least not as home growers. So the best thing that you can do is prevention. Mm-hmm. So anything you can do to spray with like a fungicide. A lot of my people like to use copper-based fungicides just because it's affordable, easy to get, and it's a little bit more on the organic side. But we have a great publication, I believe, correct? Mm-hmm. Some different options for that. And the other thing too with selecting apple varieties is if it is a name that you recognize from the store, it is probably not going to grow here. So we have a publication with recommendations for what grows best. That's also on that UT Hort webpage. And that has a bunch of varieties highlighted in green. So that way you know right away which ones are going to do much better here in the state of Tennessee. And then with the peaches, we only have about 3 varieties that we kind of recommend here. So there's the Contender, which is kind of the most commonly recommended one. But then also Intrepid and Carolina Gold are ones that we recommend.
I'm going to share, thank you, Seth, for putting those links as Katie was talking into the chat. And this is that publication that Katie was referencing here, Selecting Apples and Pears for Residential Production in Tennessee. This is a great resource. And I know you can't see it because it's small, so you can't see all of the wording here, but please check out that link and just spend a little time with this chart. And tell us about this red light, green light situation, our color coding that we have on that chart. I know that was one of y'all's favorite inventions that we came up with when y'all were developing this publication.
I certainly won't take credit for it, but I'll certainly explain it. Yeah, this is what we put in for a lot of our cultivars for fruit crops. And if it's green, you've got the green light that you're probably going to have good success with disease resistance and, just maybe not getting hit so early with that frost situation as well. So definitely conducive. And I'll drop in here that peach cultivars that Katie had just referenced there at the end too. But yeah, and then if it's yellow, hey, you might have to spray a little bit more than usual. You might have to focus a little bit more. You might, really have to dedicate some more time into that. And if it's red, you're on your own, buddy. We warned you. They're going to be tough to grow. You're probably going to have some disease pressure. Your spray schedule is going to have to be a little bit more higher maintenance. So hopefully that kind of explains that stoplight system, kind of like driving down the road and you see a 4-lane, you see that yellow, you might want to slow down a little bit before seeing it. And yeah,
pump the brakes.
Let's pump the brakes for sure. Yeah.
And I love here how Katie also mentioned if it's a cultivar that seems familiar to you, that's probably one that you don't need to be growing. Gala, that's right here. See how it's in red? That's familiar. Honey Crisp, Golden Delicious, right here at the top of this next page, both in red. So while these are yummy varieties of apples that we love to purchase at the grocery store and eat, they're not going to be our best options for growing.
And I'll note too, not all the fruit publications have this too, but many of them, including the apple and the blueberry and a few others, cross-pollination is very important. So be mindful that you're not just picking one of those and putting all your eggs in one basket. But try to pick 2 or 3 cultivars that kind of cross-pollinate with each other. Of course, there's the self-fertilizing ones as well, just that are noted there too. But just wanted to mention that when you're kind of highlighting which ones you want to pick for the season or for your planting.
And I have those color coding on display in my backyard because, we're all bad about knowing what we should do and only halfway doing it. And so I have greens and yellows both planted, and I can walk through, and some have cedar apple rust and some don't, and it's not a mystery, which is which. So and I live in a suburban area where I can't see any cedar trees, and I can't do anything about the ones that are far away. So resistance is our best tool.
Definitely. We had a question on similar to this one submitted last month, so we don't have to spend just a ton of time there, but I do want to mention it and get them a quick answer out into the air. It says, when can I prune back new growth on blueberry bushes? They are bursting with blueberries right now, although they're not quite ripe, ready to be picked. They don't want energy going into the plant or rather the fruit. I also want to keep them at the plants at the size that they are now, about 6-ish feet tall. Just some quick tips on timely pruning for blueberries.
For height, for vigor, for plant management, dormant pruning is our best tool. Like in season, maybe if we have some disease or damaged branches, I might do a little bit of cleanup, but I lean heavy on the dormant pruning to manage fruit load, to manage plant height, and which more clearly is to say February, March,
Okay.
Yep. And also too, it's very important to note, you've got rabbit eye, you've got northern high bush, and of course, the particular cultivars within those. But those 2 main types of blueberries, their prunings are slightly a little bit different. Rabbit eyes, technically the other one's called high bush. Rabbit eyes will grow taller than high bush, and to manage their size. To manage their size and whatnot too, we also need to think about removing some of those canes and doing a cane renewal process each of those dormant seasons. Once that cane gets to be a certain age, a shoot is what I'm talking about, a cane, we really need to think about removing a few of those at least once a year in that dormant period, that February, March kind of period, and cutting those as low to the ground as possible, within a foot to the soil line there. Of course, if there's a lateral healthy branch that it's coming off of, make your decisions there. And over a period of 5 or 6 years, you're going to have a completely different plant with that cane renewal program, and keeping those healthy canes and removing those older and keeping that framework going. And then, of course, with northern high bush, they'll get about 4.5 feet tall and kind of managing their height there. That's kind of what we want. A lot of those high bush varieties are known to make like twiggy growth at the bottom, and you're just not going to get any fruit on that twiggy growth. Just remove some of that twiggy growth and promote those newer, younger, healthy canes.
Yeah, we manage height from low cuts, not from high cuts.
Good point. All right. Thank y'all, Fruit and Veggie crew. That wraps up our Fruit and Veggie questions for this month. Yay!